All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We're back with the NBA show for Thursday, January 18th here. We got 5 games on tap tonight. We got injury news to cover. It's a little spaced out game for 2 games locking at the first time slot, right? 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern. Then you got a good hour and a half break, and then a good hour break after that for the last 2 games. So it should be an interesting slate here. How much? Sorry, we're a little late here. It's a scramble getting out of the office, getting home, back in my home office, getting the computers back docked up, ready, opening everything, getting ready for this show. But what's going on, man? Happy Thursday. How we doing?
Happy Thursday. You came in on 2 wheels. Glad to have you. This is an exciting slate. Got some good value to talk about. Some key pieces out, some key pieces not playing, some key pieces making their debut for their new teams. So looking forward to talking through it. And love the chat. A lot of chatter in the chat already. Talking about my hand pick of the day, OG Anunoby at 6K. I don't think we'll go there. Newens knows what's up. He knows I'm in the lab working on that jumper. Got a big matchup coming up, so looking forward to it. Thanks for all the chat. Let's get going, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care how many freaking jumpers you're shooting. You don't stand a chance in the court. I'll tell you that right now. So you can shoot all the jumpers you want. I still got my money on Title. I hate to say it. I just know Title a little good, and Ham, I mean, sometimes, right, perfection, 10,000 shots. So unless you're shooting 10,000 jumpers in the next 2 weeks before we fly out to Arizona together, I don't think it'll even matter, to be honest with you. So I'm Team Title. I know it's pretty hurtful to say, but good luck there. What's up, everybody in the chat? We got Mark. We got Newens in here. We got Sports Academy. We got Lyle. We got Danny, we got Charlie, we got Eddie, we got everybody in the chat. Welcome in, y'all. If you guys are new, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you are not a member yet, head over to shipitnation.com. Click on join now. You can use promo code Mayo, get you 10% off as well. How much? First game on tap here. We got Chicago and we got Toronto in this one. Actually, let's cover the injury news first, right? Obviously, we've got Indy on the slate with the newly acquired Pascal Siakam. We'll touch on there. But most injury news, right, is Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith are both questionable. And obviously, that's pretty big news, right? Because Halliburton's still sidelined there. And Bruce Brown no longer on the team as well with that trade there. So Raptors have Nwora and Siakam, right? Raptors.
No,
so
Pacers.
Yeah, Pacers. Excuse me. With that,
Siakam's sitting too. Siakam's out. He's confirmed.
Okay.
Out.
Yeah. So there is a lot of news in that Indy game, right? With Mathurin and Nesmith both being questionable, right? Because Halliburton's out, Siakam's not going to play. So there is a lot of news, and then Josh Hart's the other questionable piece. We'll hit on that in the next game here. But from a standpoint of this game, Chicago, Toronto. We got some ownership coming to this game. Obviously, there's only 5 games, so ownership is going to condense on a lot of these plays. Chalk Gary Trent Jr., right? Obviously, drawing the start now with that new look Toronto team with no Siakam there. He's just 4.3K. Touch on Gary Trent. Thad Young, right? Projected to start at center, I believe. He's 3.9K. You got RJ Barrett again. I know our guy Hebrew was on RJ the other night. He smashed last night, excuse me. Touch on this game, I do think it's a pretty interesting game overall here. Obviously, the Raptors without Siakam there. So a lot of usage, a lot of minutes to go around.
Yeah, new era, obviously, in Toronto. Bruce Brown is they haven't said if he's going to play or he's not going to play. I'm going to assume he's not going to play just for now. Obviously, that could change a little bit. But let's talk about the bigs in this game, because I have interest in both bigs, that being your guy Vooch for the Bulls and Thaddeus Young on the other side for the Raptors. No Jakob Poeltl tonight for the Raptors. I think that boosts up Vooch a little bit tonight. Had a really big night. I guess 2 games ago, getting almost 60 DraftKings points. So he's been kind of up and down, but with no Poeltl in the middle. I really like Vooch tonight at 7,500. And then Thaddeus Young, it was kind of a three-headed monster the other day between Thaddeus Young, Jonte Porter, and Chris Boucher. But Thaddeus Young actually dropped in price. He's now $3,900. You said it. He's slated to get the start tonight. If Thaddeus Young starts, I like him at 39 or 39. We project him to get 26 minutes. I think he can do some damage on this Bulls team at that price. And then rounding out the rest of my interest in this game would be Gary Trent. You said it. He was the talk of the slate last night. I think everybody was tilting with Gary Trent. I think he went off last night. Was in some of the winners that I saw. So Gary Trent, 4,300, still not a bad price. Also like Patrick Williams, who's slated. He's listed as questionable, but he should be returning tonight. He's only $3,700. We have him at projected at 26 minutes. Don't mind Patrick Williams, and I'll leave you with Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes, $8,100, showing the best value over here at SHIPITNation.com. So give me some Scotty Barnes as well. But my two favorite plays, just to recap, would be Vooch, would be Thaddeus Young. The two big centers tonight going. Obviously, two totally different price points, different reasoning why you'd play both, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, great breakdown. I do think we still see, Porter might still start, right? He's still slotted to start. He started last game, only played, he only played 18 minutes last night, right, against Miami here. And you saw Thad Young come off the bench, right, played 28 minutes. Thad Young, I think, is my preferred, right, 3,900, but much like everyone else is going to have that same take because Jonte Porter, right, 4,600. And then Boucher is 3,800, which is obviously $100 cheaper, but Boucher just hasn't been getting the minutes, right? 18 minutes last night, 14 minutes, 12 minutes. They just don't really want to give Boucher the minutes. Obviously, if you're early on this take, it's obviously only the second game sample since Siakam's been gone. Boucher is a massive fantasy point per minute monster. If he does get extended run, you could see a Bobby Boucher here at very, very low ownership crush, because I do think obviously everyone right now is going to Thad Young for a good reason, right? 28 minutes, sub 4K here. I think people are just really just going in with the value here from Toronto. Gary Trent, Thad Young, I think both get played a lot. I like RJ Barrett. I still think the price is fair on RJ Barrett. He's going to be asked to do a lot of the scoring here alongside Scotty Barnes. So I do like RJ Barrett. He's still got a fair price point, 6,600 there, coming off a big game, right? 40 back-to-back 40 plus. He's going to play his 36 minutes. He went for 41 against Boston, very tough defensive team. He went for 41 against Miami, another solid defensive team overall. So I do like all three of those guys, Trent, Thad Young, and RJ Barrett. On the Bulls side, I'm with you. I do like Vucevic a little bit here as well. He checks out pretty good on the stuff I'm looking at here. Overall, pretty solid matchup for him. And he's got a pretty good usage rate overall, so I don't hate him. And then I see some talks, our guy Newens in the chat talking about Kobe White. 6'9" for Kobe White. I think I prefer just getting to Levine, to be honest with you. Kobe White just hasn't really showed the ceiling, and you can get Levine for $200 more. And I just like Levine better than Kobe White. I get it, right? Levine hasn't been great, but at least Levine is showing a ceiling. Went for 49 against Golden State, went for 61 against Houston. Obviously, two different matchups than Toronto is. But with them being so close in price, give me Levine over Kobe White is kind of where I'm going. And then I do want to bring up Patrick Williams. He is questionable in this spot. I think he's a solid value play. Obviously, he's been getting minutes. Hasn't played since the 12th, it looks like. If he does return back, if he gets you in the low 20s minutes at 3,700, I think he's a fine play right now as well. So a lot of good values in this game. Obviously, an important game to start off the slate. A lot of ownership going to go to mainly the Toronto side. Do think you got some interesting Bulls pieces, right? Vucevic, Levine are my two favorites. Is kind of where I'm looking, but it's still not a ton of interest overall for me personally in the Bulls. Just when Levine, DeRozan, Kobe White, and Vucevic are all in there, it's just tough, man. It's a four-headed monster in there, and you just gotta. You're throwing darts at a dartboard, pretty much, basically, and hoping it's your guy that commands the ball in the usage there. So, overall, interesting game to start. Let's jump into the next game here. Injury news in this one, like I said, Josh Hart is questionable for the Knicks in this one. lot of ownership going to Marvin Bagley, right? At 4K at the center position. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, the two studs. You can always play those guys on the other side. Look pretty good to me. You got Tyus Jones, Kuzma. You got pool party. Is it a pool party day for you? Where are you going? How much? Washington, New York Knicks.
Yes, another good game. I'm going to give a shout out to my guy, Title, hopping in. What's going on, Title? Hope your Thursday is going great out there in the desert. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. But this is another game that I like both bigs. I mean, obviously you can't play every big, but the bag man, Marvin Bagley, making his debut. We think he's going to make his debut for the Wizards tonight. And I think he gets a boost with no Daniel Gafford. No Gafford in there. We saw what Bagley would do or could do in his limited minutes when he got extended run in Detroit. I really like Bagley tonight, especially at that price tag, the $4,000 price tag. Not a bad tag at all. This interior defense of the Knicks is pretty good, but at 4K, I think you can pay that off. Then on the flip side, Hartenstein, I really like Hartenstein as well at the center position. He's been playing very good balls, had a 52 and a 35 in 2 of his last 3 games. So don't mind Hartenstein. This Wizards team, we've really picked on them all season long. They can't guard anybody. They're very bad. Julius Randle, I mean, offensively, which is why we play DFS for the most part, he's very good. But, man, I was watching some not tape of him, but just a highlight of him and how lazy he was in that Monday game against Orlando. It was pretty funny. If you haven't seen it, just walking around the court. Julius Randle, though, $8,800 is a good play on the Knicks side. I also like Kyle Kuzma. I think Kuzma, even at 8,600, think he's really good. He shot it 21 and 20 times his last 2 times out. That was playing in modest minutes as well, 31 and 27 minutes. So don't mind Kuzma. He's power forward and center eligible. So I really do like that. It is not a pool party for me tonight. The only other person that I would talk about, I'm not going to talk about OG. I do like OG, but not going to go there, is Dante DiVincenzo, $5,800. If Josh Hart does for some reason sit, I really like DiVincenzo even more, but that would kind of be the extent of it. The 2 bigs and Bagley and Hartenstein, Randall, Kyle Kuzma, and Dante DiVincenzo.
Man, you're stealing my thunder, dude, because my favorite play on the Knicks, I see new ones in the chat, I already mentioned him, is Dante DiVincenzo here. I really like it, especially if Josh Hart sits. I'm seeing pretty low ownership on him. He's not going to play 30 minutes, but I think if he does get his 30 minutes like he got a couple games against the Grizzlies there and the Mavericks, I think you can see 35 to 40 points here at his price point at 5'8", at very low ownership. I think people go to the Knicks. They're going to Randle. They're going to Brunson. Both these guys had good matchups last time against Washington and both had good games back on January 6th, right? Jalen Brunson went for nearly 50, 49.75, right? Julius Randle crushed it as well there. So I think the 2 pivots for me for the Knicks here are DiVincenzo, and then I do like your Isaiah Hartenstein pivot off of the Randle. Hartenstein's been good, and you can argue if Randle isn't getting there, it's likely due to Isaiah Hartenstein, right? Picking up those rebounds down in the paint, picking up peripheral, scoring some putbacks, things like that. I mean, if he gets his upper 30s, 40 minutes like he has shown over the last week, I think Isaiah Hartenstein is a pretty good play here. Marvin Bagley is chalk that I'm willing to eat. There's just nobody else there, right? Muscala, Gallinari were traded away. Gafford's in concussion protocol. Marvin Bagley's been shown to be a productive fantasy point per minute guy in other situations. Washington likes to run out Gafford, right? I think Bagley's going to slot right into how Gafford plays. Bagley's chalk at 4K. I'm in a tough matchup. I get it, but man, it's just hard to ignore that spot there with him because he's going to get all the minutes he can handle. As long as he stays out of foul trouble, he's going to be there. So obviously Bagley, chalk of the slate for a good reason, in my opinion. There's just really nobody else behind him. I'm not going to pool party any of that. I'm not really even much interested in Tyus Jones, Kuzma, any of those guys. I think Julius Randle, Brunson are 2 good plays. They're both going to get ownership, but I like pivoting a little bit because obviously there's a lot of ownership in that first game, that Toronto game. And with only 5 games on tap tonight, I do take ownership more into account. Obviously ownership for good reason happens in NBA, right? Fantasy points lead to minutes, and shorthandedness, things like that. Everyone kind of condenses, optimizes projections, account for all of that. But you still do need to get a little bit different. So I like pivoting a little bit to some of these Knicks, like a Hartenstein, like a DiVincenzo, who I think in the same game environment against a team that doesn't play defense in Washington, I think are two interesting plays for me. And then, yeah, I'm with you on Marvin Bagley for a good reason, right? He's a great play here in this game. Let's jump into OKC Utah here in this one. 244 is the total, highest total or second highest total on the slate behind that Sacramento Indy game that we're going to talk about next. Close spread in this one here. And I saw everybody talking about it in the chat. SGA day. It's SGA day here. Point guards against Utah. Are you getting up to SGA? You have all the value. We talked about all kinds of value so far. Is it an SGA smash spot for you at 10-2 here? You got Lauri Markkanen on the other side. You got Chet Holmgren, who's been having a good season. Jalen Williams with a L in there has been good. And then you got Chris Dunn as well. 4,100. He's going to play his minutes, probably low 20s minutes here, but at just 4.1K, there is a lot of value on the slate that we talked about at the position already early on. This game overall pretty intriguing. A lot of good plays here. Where are you going?
Yeah, what a game this is going to be. 2-3 weeks ago, no one probably even had it circled. Now Hebrew Cheetah and the rest of all the Jazz fans, they're over there just happy as a clam with this game. Should be a good one. The Jazz, they've been fun to watch over the last, I don't know what, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks. But it's an SGA day today. I feel like it's an SGA day every day. This man is nothing short of remarkable. Going to play, 35-plus minutes. Point guards against Jazz, you said it. There's not too many spin-ups. Obviously, there's only 5 games. So I think, for the spin-ups with no Tyrese at the point guard position, it's a limited crew of who are you going to pay up for at the point guard position. You got Fox, you got him, you got Brunson. That's pretty much the extent of it. I don't mind SGA. Lauri Markkanen on the other side, 8,300. This guy has just been absolutely on a heater, back-to-back 50 DraftKings points and very limited minutes, I would say, low 30s. High 20s. So, if we could get that to 36, even better. But Lauri Markkanen's in a great spot. You alluded to Chris Dunn should play mid-20s at 4-1. I don't think it's the craziest thing. And then I want to talk about Jalen Williams. Jalen has been picking it up. 14, 18, 16 shots per game his last 3 games. I really like Jalen Williams. He's kind of I guess, the second option behind SGA and, him and Chet obviously would be right up there. But give me some Jalen Williams. That's Ian that I like, Jalen Williams. Give me some Markkanen and then SGA. I'm a little lower on Chet tonight at 7-8 just because that center position, in my opinion, that's where I'm going to find the value. So I'm a little lower on him. And then the last that I would talk about would be Keontae George, as a pivot off Chris Dunn. If Chris Dunn is going to be chalky, a little bit more expensive, $4,800. Keontae George, been playing high 20s, mid-20s minutes. And Hebrew Cheetah's been a fan of his all season. I'm going to keep on piggybacking off him because I do have some belief in Keontae George should he get his minutes.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. The Jazz ranked number 1 in pace. Obviously, that's big time for SGA, right? Big transition player there. 10-2 for him. SGA is pretty good. Obviously, great play tonight. Great spend up here. I'm with you, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, if we see him get 35, 36 minutes, I mean, he's going to absolutely nuke. He's been playing kind of basically capped out at right around the 32, 33-minute mark. If he picks up another rotation, plays 35, 36 minutes, I mean, I think he absolutely smashes. So I do like Lauri Markkanen on the other side. Jalen Williams, I do like Jalen Williams. He's been very consistent. He's been good. He has shot the basketball very well, right? 10 of 14, 10 of 18, scored back-to-back 25-point games. But he's picking up rebounds. He's picking up some assists there. So his peripheral stats still can help him there at 7-2. I see some people talking about Josh Giddey in the chat. I don't mind Josh Giddey here just because the pace that the Jazz play at right now, it is a massive total here. It's expected to stay close. So you can get to a lot of these guys in this game. I don't mind a Josh Giddey if you're not getting all the way up to an SGA. If SGA goes out there and has a game where you don't need him right in terms of DFS, it's likely because guys like Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Josh Giddey, right? Josh Giddey coming in, really efficient, just scoring, maybe gets a little extended run. Jalen Williams is on fire from the field, right? Taking more shots. Chet Holmgren's doing his work down low. So I do think in an SGA team where you're not playing SGA, to have probably two of these guys, right? A Holmgren, a Williams, a Josh Giddey is kind of how I like approaching it. I do think Josh Giddey's fine at 6'2". He gets the same matchup there as well that SGA does for $6,200. Again, the only issue with Giddey is his minutes, man. He's only going to play low 20s minutes. He needs to be efficient out there. He could do it, right? Logged a triple-double in 23 minutes, but that was against Portland here. So overall, I think he's fine. My two favorite plays, SGA by far, Jalen Williams, number 2. Lauri Markkanen on the other side, I really like that. Chris Dunn, 4.1K here in this spot, going to start likely at the point guard like he has been. He hasn't been playing a ton of minutes, still low 20s minutes. He's going to be pretty chalky, so I don't mind the Keontae George pivot there like you were talking about. Keontae George been much better. He's been playing more minutes. He's a little bit more expensive, $700 more, and he's a fraction of the ownership. He's going to be sub 5% versus probably 25% ownership that Chris Dunn is. We already have a ton of value in the Toronto pieces. You got the Bagley value. I mean, there's a ton of value all over. We're going to talk about value in the Indy game, right? Especially if Mathurin and those guys are out. So I don't mind being under on Chris Dunn. Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson conversation. Both of them are priced very similar, right? 6,800, 6,200. It's just these guys seem like floor plays to me. They just haven't shown a ceiling overall. If you catch one of them, I prefer Sexton. Sexton's just been the better basketball player. He's cheaper as well. He's shown a little bit more of a ceiling, right? 42, 39, 34, 35. Whereas if you look at Clarkson, right? 26, 33, 32, 43. It's just seems like both of those guys eat into it. So I would max one of those guys personally. I prefer Sexton over Clarkson, but overall, obviously, I do think this is a very good game. You got the two studs in Markkanen and SGA. I like pairing those guys together a lot. Hope this game stays close. It's a high total, pretty close spread overall, so definitely a good game overall in this one.
Hey, we start talking about the Jazz, and our guy Hebrew shows up. Hebrew's the Jordan Clarkson whisperer, man. He calls triple doubles, and Jordan Clarkson just delivers. So if Hebrew says Clarkson's going to get another triple double, we might have to play him. But Hebrew, your Jazz are on fire. Should be a good game. They're rested. Obviously, didn't play. I think it was last night. A sad occasion, for all those Warriors fans out there. So hopefully the Jazz are well rested. We see a good game tonight.
Yeah, hopefully. And Hebrew, I appreciate that. Just literally I literally got home from the office, redocked my computers, went to the bathroom, took a leak quick, and got on here. And I get
Office
in the stream.
dates.
Yeah, I get in the StreamYard, and Hamwich is like, man, I didn't think you were going to make it. Unreal. He didn't have faith in Big Nades to pull through, but we're here. We're picking the winners, and we got a nice game here next. Indiana and Sacramento. In terms of a total in this one, 247, just a 7-point spread, and these Pacers could end up being very, very shorthanded here in this one. Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin, all questionable here. Obviously, Siakam is not going to start here, and then you still got Halliburton sidelined as well in this game. Pretty juicy matchup overall for the Kings. Talk to me in this one. Where are you going? As of now, I'm not seeing a ton of ownership, but I do expect that to change, especially once we get some of this news. The only issue is starts 2.5 hours later than those first two games that we talked about, and an hour after that OKC-Utah game, which is another very good game as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game. It's a revenge game for your guy Tyrese, revenge game for Domantas Sabonis, revenge game for Buddy Hield. Obviously, I know Halliburton's not playing, unfortunately. Wish he was, but man, Mr. Triple-Double himself, Sabonis, what has gotten into that guy? You open the box score every night, and it's literally triple-double every single night for like the last 15 nights, I feel like. He's a great play tonight, showing great value over here at the stuff that I'm looking at. And you said it. I mean, if we already know there's no Halliburton. We know there's no Siakam. We know there's no Bruce Brown. If Nesmith or Mathurin or one of those guys sits, that's just going to elevate one of these Pacers even more, that they're going to be limited in the amount of people that they can play. I saw the chat talking about it earlier. TJ McConnell, who hasn't been playing that much, I mean, he's going to have to play a little bit more tonight. I like TJ McConnell's. He just does so many little things on the court at 5'9". I think that's a good price. I really like Sabonis at 10K flat. But once again, he's a center position where that's where a lot of the value's coming in tonight. So who knows if you can get there. Keegan Murray is another one I like at 6,000. I think that's a very fair price for him at the power forward position. Sabonis would be my favorite. McConnell, my second favorite. And then Keegan Murray, my third favorite. And then I'll be interested in these Pacers, once again, like you alluded to. If one of those two that are questionable, or there's three questionable that sit, that's going to elevate the Pacers a little bit more, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very interesting game here. Obviously, Nesmith and Nembhard both slated to start. I do think Nembhard sits. Midday downgrade just came out about 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago with a back. Usually the back, right? This late in the day, I'm approaching it like he doesn't play here. So obviously he was projected to start at the point guard position. You got Buddy Hield, Jalen Smith, Miles Turner. Obviously, all three of those guys are going to be in there. You could see TJ McConnell slot into the starting lineup. I'm not exactly sure if he will or not, but TJ, I know they do like him coming off the bench. If he slides in their start, I think he's a great play. I was just pulling up some usage numbers. I took all the questionable guys, Nesmith, Mathurin, off the court here in terms of and Nembhard, along with Halliburton off the court, and looking at some usage rates here overall. And Miles Turner, Jalen Smith get massive boost. Miles Turner, obviously almost a 25% usage boost this season when those guys are off the court. He's 6.9K here. Is only center eligible. He has not been good overall. I think he's interesting. Isaiah Jackson gets a big boost as well, I think here. Overall, interesting game. Jalen Smith at 5'4", I think, is my favorite play. Buddy Hield's going to have to, do all the scoring if those guys are off. TJ McConnell coming off the bench, I think, is interesting. But we're going to have to wait and see starters because obviously Mathurin, Nesmith, that injury news is big in this one. The only issue is just not going to get that news before these other games lock. So is an interesting spot here. If you do play these guys, build in a plan. You do still have the Memphis-Minnesota game, which overall isn't a very intriguing DFS game for me personally, but you still do have two games at 9 p.m. locking. So overall, great breakdown. In terms of the Kings, go ahead. Yeah, in terms of the Kings side, I think De'Aaron Fox, 9-1. He's been playing back-to-back. He's played pretty good, right? Milwaukee got there, kind of limped to value in overtime in that game, but followed it up with a pretty good game against Phoenix as well. And then Domantas Sabonis, this guy is turned into – this guy's absolutely just been crushing right now, and he's 10K. Not the greatest matchup against Miles Turner here, but what's your take on Fox versus Sabonis? 9-1, 10K for both of them. Sabonis has been crushing, but Fox is starting to turn it around a little bit. Do you have a take between those two, Hamwich?
Yeah, I know earlier in the year I was on Team Fox. You were Team Sabonis, I think. I think it's kind of flip-flop for me. I like Sabonis. I think I like Sabonis at 10K. You could pretty much lock in a triple-double with him right now. And, right, if he gets to 70, he's going to be tough to beat. I like other point guards. I also like other centers. I was going to ask you, Vooch versus Miles Turner. What's your take on that? Vooch versus Miles Turner, virtually same price. I think it's a $300 difference. Who do you prefer there?
Yeah, it's tough. So Vooch, I did like Vooch. I was with you there. I leaned to Vooch just because he's got a little bit of a better matchup than going up against Sabonis. Overall, Miles Turner, I just haven't been a huge Miles Turner guy. It's just hard to ignore that usage. He gets basically 25% usage boost with taking those guys off the court that are likely to miss. I see our guy Hebrew in the chat talking about Nembhard. Has been dealing with his back injury, so I'm basically approaching it like Nembhard does sit here. That could mean maybe since they released that, right, and downgraded him, one of Mathurin or Nesmith are going to play, and we just haven't came out with that news yet. So you could see one of those guys start. So I'm still Team Vooch over Miles Turner here. But I do think this is a pretty interesting spot for Miles Turner. I don't think he gets a ton of ownership in this one. My favorite play actually from this game, though, is going to be Keegan Murray at 6K here. I just like it. If he plays 35 minutes again here in this matchup at 6K flat. I get it, right? Fox, Sabonis have been crushing, but Keegan Murray, stuff I look at here, he checks out pretty good for me. So I don't mind Keegan Murray. I'm with you. TJ McConnell, I like as well in this game. So Keegan Murray, TJ McConnell, my two favorite plays. I think I'm Team Fox over Sabonis here. I know that's a hot take because Sabonis has been crushing, but you save $900 here. It's at a different position. Center position is obviously scarce, or not scarce, but you only can play one of them unless you use up your utility spot. So overall, long-winded way of breaking this game down, but it is an important game. There's a lot of injury news. The most important injury news on the slate does happen from this game. So when you do, make sure you have multiple pieces to backload here to move around if you are approaching this game or targeting this game. Let's jump into the last game on the slate here, Hamwich. We got Memphis, we got Minnesota. In terms of this game overall, 214 total, 12.5 point spread here. Minnesota been one of the best defensive teams all season long here. We have massive chalk in this game. Gregory Jackson, 4K for Memphis here. And Edwards just absolutely nuked or was crushing right against Detroit until that game got out of hand. Back-to-back good games for Ant Edwards, 10 of 24 shooting against Detroit, 10 of 16. He's taken his three-point shots. Had a good game against the Clippers. Can you get to a lower-owned Anthony Edwards and then talk on the chalk from the Memphis side, Gregory Jackson, Jaren Jackson, some of those guys?
Yeah, real quick. Steve, I meant to point this out. Steve, I saw where Halliburton and Siakam were out. I don't know if that's changed since this show, but I don't think he's questionable. I think Halliburton is definitely out. So just one thing to note. But moving on to this Grizzly game, I think the problem with the Grizzlies, I know we don't ever like to plan for a blowout, is I just don't see a way that they keep this game competitive. That would lower my interest in Anthony Edwards. I think he's a great spot. I think most of these Timberwolves are in a great spot. My favorite one, once again, I feel like I like all the centers today, is Rudy Gobert at 7'4". He's going up against the likes of the X-Man, Xavier Tillman, and then the aforementioned Gregory Jackson, some guy that I'd never heard of 2 weeks ago. So I think Rudy Gobert at 7'4", who's been playing pretty good basketball over the last, week plus. He hasn't gotten below 45 DraftKings points at 7'4". He's probably my favorite of the bunch, just with the different things that he can do. On the flip side, I think Greg Jackson is a fine play. 29 minutes his last time out, 27 minutes before that. They're obviously going to give him some run. He's gotten 33. He's gotten 41 DraftKings points in his last two. This is a tough matchup, but at 4,000, we talked a lot about it with Marvin Bagley. He doesn't have to do a whole lot to pay off that tag. So Greg Jackson would be my favorite Grizzly just based on price alone. Rudy Gobert is going to be my favorite Timberwolf. Like him a little bit more than Karl Anthony Towns. I do prefer Ant Edwards over, Karl Anthony Towns if you wanted to pay up, so to speak. But that's going to kind of be the extent of it. We have a pretty low total. Is this the lowest total of the slate? I think it is. Might be close to that Chicago. So I'm not going to focus on this game. I might take some Gobert, might take some Greg Jackson, and then focus on those other three middle games.
Yeah, those other three middle games definitely good. There is some good plays in this. My two favorite plays from this game are both centers. Xavier Tillman. You didn't mention him, but I do like Xavier Tillman here at 5'5". Projected to get 32 minutes here. We have him at 32 minutes. If he gets you up into 36 like he played against the Knicks, I don't mind Xavier Tillman here at 5'5". I think he can easily pay off that price point. You look back against Dallas, went for 35, went for 40 against the Clippers, went for almost 40 against the Knicks. I don't mind that. And then I love Rudy Gobert here. Rudy Gobert should get whatever he wants in this spot. He's been crushing. You can argue blowout and blah, blah, blah. But 7'4" for Rudy Gobert, what he's been doing, really like that price point on him. So my two favorite plays in this game by far, both centers, Rudy Gobert, Xavier Tillman. I get it. I agree with you, Gregory Jackson there. It's just opportunity for me. He's got a pretty healthy projection. He's owned for a reason. 4K, doesn't really need to do a ton to pay off that price point. I mean, if he gets you 30, DraftKings points, you're more than happy with that. Even 25, you'll take that at 4K here. So don't mind Gregory Jackson, but my two favorite plays, a lower owned play in Xavier Tillman from the Memphis side, and then Rudy Gobert also I don't think comes in super owned, and I like him quite a bit. I prefer Rudy over Vucevic as well here tonight. Personally, they're pretty similar in price there. Rudy Gobert at 7.6, I do, or 7.4, excuse me. I do like quite a bit. That's all 5 games. I think we broke it down pretty good. Obviously, injury news in that Indy Sacramento game is going to be important. Pay attention to that. I do think, obviously, Nembhard, I think, sits for sure. And I think Nesmith plays. And then, obviously, Mathurin's kind of 50-50. I kind of agree with Hebrew. Appreciate you, Hebrew, checking that out in the chat. He said Nesmith was a full practice yesterday, so he's likely in. Mathurin did one-on-one practice, so it's basically a 50-50 for him. I do think one of them for sure plays. That's why that Nembhard news did come out as well. So overall, pretty good slate on games here. We got a lot of early value pieces, a couple studs from that OKC Utah game, marketing SGA, and then you got some news late as well. But any final thoughts for the people, Hamwich, before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, I think you're going to find your value in the power forward and center spot. And then, you're going to see a lot of people paying up for studs at the point guard position. So should be an interesting slate. Looking forward to it. I know we've been crushing over here. Hebrew just puts out the best slate plan that I've seen in NBA. So if you're not a member at SHIPIT Nation, make sure you head over there, check out his slate plan. It is first class. And hopefully we see some SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. I know Jordan's been crushing it as well. Hopefully he's in some of those big contests we can root him on tonight.
Yeah. We all been crushing it over here, crushing NHL. We got the content up over there. I had that content up nice and early. That's one thing we pride ourselves in. Over here, a little bit harder to get NBA content, right? Obviously, it's so news-driven a sport and starting lineups. But we try and get our core plays, everything, all of our content, multiple projection updates throughout the day. So if you are not a member, shipitnation.com. Use promo code MAYO. Gets you 10% off for life, whatever package you do choose. But that's going to do it for this show. We appreciate everyone watching. If you haven't, hit that like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. Good luck tonight in your contest. Hope to see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. For Hamwich, I'm Nadesify. Let's ship it.